Hey everybody, I'm back with my review of Expedition 33. Just wrapped it up, and as I stated multiple times during my playthrough of this game, I had a ball with this game. Now, there was a couple of stuff that I want to get out the way that I actually did not care for personally. Is the fact that there's certain moments where the rendering seemed a little off, but that is understandable because behind the scenes, the developers behind this came from, split from Ubisoft because they got tired of the kind of crap Ubisoft have been dumping out to the masses, and they actually want to make some good games with solid story and character development. So this was their first game, and they didn't price gouge the customers. It was it was at a reasonable price of like with tax was like 60 some odd dollars, at least for like the base standard edition, and goes to show that you don't need to overprice your game, especially if it's like a half-ass game. But there's also moments where the mouth didn't seem to be matching up with the voice that was being put out. I won't say it happened all the time, but on rare occasions, I kind of took notice of that. Like I said, it had like a pretty decent budget, and for what they did with that budget, they still managed to put out a very impressive game. Even in like the farther background, you can just certain moments where it doesn't seem all that polished, but everything else, as you get more forward to the foreground, it gets like immaculate. Not to say this happens all the time. When you do like those wider shots, when you want to see the grand scale of something, it looks really good. They know where to put their budget, and they used it wisely. What else? The whole parrying system, I had such a tough time just nailing that in the gameplay. But as I was going halfway through the game, eventually I was able to work that system. It was daunting at first, but all in all, thanks to my friend who played this and eventually got done a little bit before me, he just gave me a little bit of the tips, like grinding out my characters before I get to a certain segment in the game. But those are just like my issues with the game, but it didn't really affect my overall enjoyment, because I think because clearly they was taking like inspiration from Final Fantasy to a certain extent, but I also don't think we need like a overall sequel to this. I think it's one of those kind of games that's good one and done. Not saying it's not possible to make a sequel to this, but I don't think it's one, because I think this is one of those games where it's not required to have a sequel, because it's like it just fine on its own. Kind of like certain movies, not everything needs a sequel to things. The music, I think the music is incredible. Clearly the backdrop is like a very Paris heavy influence, even down to a lot of the actors with a very French accent, or actually speak French, that can actually give like a good authentic dialogue with that particular accent. I thought the music was the orchestra is just brilliantly done. Because music has to be able to suck you into the overall world too. There's very distinct styles, very distinct music that you can know where it came from. You hear certain songs that clearly belongs to Legend of Zelda. There's certain songs that clearly belongs to Super Mario. This is one of those games where their particular style of, especially with Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy is like a clearly a particular orchestra belongs to what particular game. This one, they chose wisely what kind of music composition that they want that that really encompasses the world, it embodies the world. It's like, yeah, that is definitely Expedition 33. Now, I want to get into the bit of the story before I end it with the particular characters. So, basically, okay, I do got one more grief, but I'll get to that in a second. We meet up with our main character, Gustav, who was voiced by Charlie Cox. Yes, Daredevil himself. And he meets up with this girl named Mael, and they about to go see this Gamage. And what is a Gamage? Well, in this world, and for some mysterious reason, for similarly over like 100 years, their world has gone through this big cataclysm where every year, starting with because there's this giant statue creature off the coast, like far, far away, but you can still see because it's so huge. Pretty much like a kaiju, just sitting like a statue, but it's sitting in a sorrowful position. And then every year, starting from 100, it paints down. It erases the number and goes down a number. So anybody with that age number, they pretty much get Thanos snapped away. And so this world had these things called expeditioners, where those go through this expedition who have like a year left. They train certain people to be expeditioners, those who wants to fight, and they get trained how to use swords, blades, or magic, or even tarot cards. They go through this. They're trained in order to potentially travel to this locale where what they deem the paintress, because he paints a new number, to see, okay, we gotta stop this or figure out what's going on. So eventually those able-bodied people who got some years left, or at least a year left, goes to that location and try to investigate and see if they can kill this paintress, and hopefully think, okay, we killed this creature, hopefully it stopped these Gamages so people can have a future. And it's down, and clearly they all failed because it keeps happening every year. So now it's down to 33. This is like the title of the game. And so Gustav, Mael, who still got at least a couple of years before she is technically 2 or 3 years before she actually can feel like she has to go on these particular pilgrimage, but she really wants to fight, and she doesn't want to stay behind because she lost her parents to a Gamage when she was young, because children get younger and younger, and eventually they get so young they can't actually go out to do these things. So it's imperative that they try to remedy this before it gets to that point, in order for their survival of their species. So we got Gustav, Mael, Loon. Eventually we get this card user, CL, who's pretty much using like tarot cards by thinking about Yu-Gi-Oh! Personally. But it's very fun. We meet other characters along the way, but those are like the main human ones. But there's other expeditioners that they go off. Once they hit the mainland, they see this old man, which they're stunned by, because like, oh my god, he's old. It's like, what's going on here? How are you that age? He starts murking everybody on. It's like, it's like D-Day or something like that. He just like one-shots everybody and murders a bunch of these expeditioners. Whereas only basically they meet up with Sayel and Mael later, but there's only those 4 left. And so now they're trying to gather together to go fight this paintress. But along the way, which caught me completely by surprise, Gustav gets killed by this mysterious old man, who we later learn his name is Renoir. And then at the same time we meet up with a new ally named Verso, who wanted to step in, but he was too late to save Gustav from this guy's attack. So now they're on a mission. First, they had to make sure they bury Gustav, at least what remains of him, which is his like prosthetic arm. They come to learn that Verso was one of the older expeditioners many decades ago, and is stunned by how he has not aged. And it turns out he is the son of Renoir, and the somehow the paintress, or I won't say the paintress, but they're able to find immortality. So they never, not only didn't get old, but they avoid the gamage. They also see this, mysterious girl who we learn to be Alicia, who is this kind of like a burn victim in a way from something like a fire, and she just couldn't speak. So she for a while is a mystery. But throughout the series of adventures taking down these giant bosses, they meet up with Esquier, this pretty much this big it looks like a giant plush toy, and one of Verso's friends, along as well as a different friend, Monaco, who's kind of like a white gorilla type of being, faceless being or something like that, but he's pretty dope. And they all come together in order to go to their mission to stop the paintress. Now they took down all these other bosses. It makes it easier for them to get this particular sword from Mael to get this through this barrier, because Verso says, okay, we got to take out her heart. That's the only way to eliminate her. So once achieved, they get there, they fight with Renoir. After they had this big kind of fight amongst each other, that they figured out that Verso kept it from them that he's related to Renoir. But they finally defeat Renoir and go to take on the Paintress. But it's kind of bittersweet. After they do take her down, they head back to Lumiere, the hometown. The Gamar still happen. They all end up disappearing. But we then cut to apparently the real world, where we see Mael, who is Alicia. That's why it looks so freaking familiar. When I first saw her, I was like, why is she? Is this supposed to be a sister or something? Why is she have? Is some kind of time travel kind of situation? What's going on? It was like a complete twist that I greatly appreciated, because it's like, oh my god, it caught me by surprise. This is why developers, got to avoid the kind of crap Ubisoft and some other developers are doing, when they kind of placate to a certain demographic and then put so much effort into that and not into the stories or character development. Then you end up with slop. Here you got such good story. I was completely sucked in though, from the jump. But it adds more to the mystery. It's like, okay, what the heck is going on? And it turns out it's very kind of Matrix in a way. Turns out that Alicia / Mael is a real person, and she comes from a family. The reason she's burnt like that because it was like a fire that happened to the house. The Paintress and Renoir is the parents of both Alicia, Verso, and his other sister. I felt it starts with an A, but I'm blanking on it. Altisha or something. I can't remember. She kind of is insignificant. All she's there to be much. What we get from her is she's kind of like a bitch. It's just being just blatantly mean, but I guess it's a point to it because they're all in grief. The reason that Alicia has those burn marks and she has a tough time actually communicating because her, I guess, her vocal cords got seared a bit, but somehow they're still able to understand her for some reason. There's a fire that happened in the house. Verso risked his life to make sure his younger sister, because the two sisters and Verso were siblings. The two, Verso died saving Alicia, but she didn't go out unscathed. So the entire family is grieving in different ways. The mother taught the family how to paint. That's why she was like the paintress. And they end up having some kind of magical power to be able to pretty much create worlds via their painting skills. That's why Versa was so close to Monaco and Eske, because he's the one that painted them. And the Verso that we knew through the gameplay is the piece of the real Verso's soul. And the Paintress is just the mom trying to keep her, son's world alive. And Renoir is the one pretty much like, it's just like a push and pull between the parents, because the father wants to get the wife out of there, because as long as she's in there, the more it hurts her, because you can't stay in this world forever because you don't belong there, and eventually it starts to affect you. And So the theme of this game is pretty much, a family going through grief and how it affects them in different ways. Especially the mom who kept this all going, and the older sister's being like a bitch to the younger sister because in some ways she kind of blames her for the death of the brother. So once Alicia regains her memories, she because you see her how this all started, where the father is trying to get the mother out of there, so they pretty much their bodies is kind of like a stasis, kind of frozen in place while their conscious selves are inside the world of painting. And that explains why these gamages are happening, because none of them are real, and the father's trying to just kind of erase everything. Well, I was saying it was Clair. It was the one of them. I'm pretty sure it's well, you see like the father doing a lot of that killing. He ain't gomaging, but he's definitely killing anybody gets in his way. And then but I guess the mom's doing like the whole painless thing. But it's just like the push and pull between the parents. They're both in a way are responsible for these gamages, because one is trying to keep this world alive, the other is trying to put a stop to it. And everybody's hurt by their grief. The whole world you see as you playing through is all fractured to hell. So you see that Mael ends up, well, at least Alicia goes through the painting, even though the older sister is like, don't do that. Like treating her like she's kind of like a waste of space kind of thing. But Mael ends up going through, I keep flip-flopping between Mael and Alicia, the same person. She ends up going through the painting, but in the process ends up getting forgetting herself, and her consciousness kind of splits, one going into being reincarnated as this girl named Mael in the world of the painting, while her real self is caught in that corpse bride body that's with Renoir for the most part, that can't speak. So she knows of two lives, and therefore she's trying to, once she regains those memories, once she regains those memories, she once she realized that the curator that was helping us upgrade our gear turns out to be the essence of the real father. So now she, with her power, she revives Loon and CL. And I'm thinking to myself, and this is my other grievance with the game, it's like, okay, you clearly had like a thing for Gustav, or at least you look to him as like an older brother or some kind of thing. But it's just like, okay, you was able to clearly, because she has the same power set as her mother, just like her siblings do. You didn't want to revive Gustav. That was like a perfect moment to revive him. Uh, I thought that was kind of weird. That was like another grievance I kind of had because I really liked Gustav because we spent a lot of time with that guy. And that's why I was so heartbroken and shocked that, wow, you killed off your main character, without, pretty much hesitation. We still had like plenty enough time with him, but it was just like a gutsy move to pull that. So she explains everything with everybody. And so they go to the end of rising an army of the spirits of the older expeditioners to take care of the henchmen of Renoir. So they end up fighting with Renoir. And he tries to summon those other big bosses that we fought previously to aid him. But then the last remnants of the Paintress comes in with her giant kaiju, stop those things so we can finally take down the father for good. Of course, he is not dead, but he explains that you cannot stay here because just like your mother is infecting your mother, and I'm trying to get her out of here, I need to get you out of here. But because my L/Alicia lived dual lives and she comes to care about the people in this world of paint, she, wants everybody back and living normal lives and all this other stuff. And I'm thinking, kudos to the writing, because in the end, you get two choices. You side with Verso, who wants to end all this and send Alicia back to the real world so her and her family can deal with their grief healthily. Healthily is not a word, but you know what I mean. But she wants to revive this world and keep her brother's spirit alive through this painting. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, are we siding with, in the end, you can choose to side with Gamage and everything and erasing this painting because it's not real. It's kind of like the Matrix, where it's like, yeah, this is like, we can't live in this fake world. So of course I end up choosing Verso side because, yeah, logically you can't live here, especially if it's gonna kill you. It makes no sense that you want to keep going. But if you choose, because I looked this up, if you choose Mael, then she of course keeps the world going and revives everybody. But you see, they finally get to see Verso playing his piano, as he said he's really good at playing piano. As her and the people that were Gamage are all back and everything like that. But he notices she is getting a little sick. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, if something happens to her, or at least when it happens to her, then everything, just keeps on trucking irregardless, as long as she's still, because that part is confusing too. Okay, if she ends up dying for being here longer than she should be, then, and she's probably the only one keeping this going, when she goes, it all goes anyway. So, causing your own life, like ending your own life for nothing. So of course I went with Verso. He erases the last vestiges of his real world spirit, which causes everything to Gamage completely. Alicia goes back to the real world so her and her family can grieve, and she and her family are at the gravesite of the brother, and she sees images of her Pink family that she waving goodbye to, and It all ends there, and I had a good time. But like I said, I had a few issues here and there along the way. It's not perfect, but I like the character. I think my favorite characters are, well, I like them in all different ways, but my favorite has to be Loon. But I think Loon has got a lot of, fan bases, because my friend pointed out, like, yeah, there's a lot of feet fetish people who love Loon because she's barefoot the entire time. But I love CL. I'm shocked that they had some kind of her and Verso has this kind of romance brewing, and they end up doing it. I'm shocked they included that in this, but it's one of the markers of like these developers making solid characters and making them hot. We like looking at good-looking people in our stories, and that's one of the issues that a lot of people have with certain video games nowadays, because there's everything's got to be so doggone PC where it's worried about offending every little body. It's like, now, because you don't want to, because that's the biggest issues with like the game like Concord, where you got these body positivity characters or whatever, and it's like nobody wants to look at them, so why we want to play as them? Look at something like The Last of Us 2. People constantly submit themselves to death in the game when they playing that other girl, because nobody really had any kind of feelings for that girl, but you are forced to play as her because people are more drawn and attached to Ellie because she's like a more developed character from the first game, and it's like, and she's built like some imagined version of what, like some girl's imagination of what she thinks girls should be and not how they are. Because only people who look like that character are probably bodybuilders, professional bodybuilders. Most women aren't built like that. Not saying they can't be strong, but you look at someone like Loon, Mael, CL, they're beautiful, feminine, but they have layered characters. They can be strong without having to be boss babes. There's a distinction, and developers behind this and the writers behind this know this intrinsically. Everybody loves Loon for, like, especially they all, people who play this game love the characters here, but I think Loon gets the most love. She's kind of like Tifa in a way, where she's feminine, but she's like a tough badass. She, nobody's putting a guy down to prop them up. They all got their own strengths, their own weaknesses, and they complement each other. But they're all very well developed characters, and you feel for a lot of them, especially Alicia, who, when you finally learn the backstory, it's just like all the heartbreaking. But way to go with the twist, because I did not see that coming. I doubt many people saw that one coming. At a certain point, I thought it was some kind of time travel mechanism going to be thrown in there. But no, it's just more like a Matrix kind of thing, but with, instead of computers, it's paintings. But yeah, all in all, that's just my thoughts on the game. It's a solid game. If I give this any kind of a ranking, I'll give it like a 7.5 out of 10. Part of me wants to give it like an 8, but I want to try to think, rationally. And it's like, okay, because of those certain criticisms that I expressed, I can't give it a full 8, but I can give it at bare minimum a 7.5. It has, moments where, depending on my mood of the day, I could give it an 8. But as of right now, I give it like a 7.5. It has its issues, but the developers behind this, they're on a right track. Whatever next project they plan on working on, they have the trust in their fan base, and the cachet to, as long as they maintain their, don't lose their way like other developers have, and they want to make sure they only go out their way to make good story and well developed characters. The game doesn't necessarily need to be perfect. No game is perfect, but as long as but it can be timeless, and as long as you make very well developed characters and a solid story that isn't bogged down with crazy side quests and inserting certain agendas or some kind of political talking point, then it can be timeless, and people will probably just appreciate it a lot more because you're separating yourself from the pack and you're standing out. Because games these days, they'll probably end up having certain writers write Mael to take a moment to talk down to somebody like Verso or Gustav. They say like some lecture point about women's struggles in this world, and I trying to learn how to do this particular job, but I'm not getting the recognition I deserve because I'm a girl or something like that. It's just, you get none of that here. And I appreciate it. Everybody got their own strengths and weaknesses, and they complement each other. No lecturing. People are getting sick and tired of being lectured at, and they embrace men looking good and women looking good. That's why games like Marvel Rivals, they understand the fans want to look at good-looking characters. And if you can't handle that, you don't have to play it. But of course, you still got certain groups out there that want to boycott this, or what was it, Phantom Band, Ghost Band, whatever. It's like trying to get rid of this game, or give it more trouble than it deserves, because they're straying away from the nonsense. Kind of like with the Sweeney and the American Eagle jeans ad recently, because they knew their fan base. They ain't apologizing either. Kudos to them, because we want to look at hot people, and every once in a while, hot white people. It's okay. It's not a bad thing. You tout this inclusiveness, but you're not inclusive in the mind. There's no grandstanding or anything like that. It's just like, tell a great story. Include some awesome characters. It doesn't matter if they're of a different race, but as long as they're well developed, or acknowledge what you're writing about. Like here in Expedition 33, good example. Clearly the backdrop is Paris, France. We see bits and pieces of black people, or in Sayal's case, I think she's more Indian, I'm not sure. But they all speak in a French accent. But primarily the demographic would be mostly white French people. Most developers these days will probably try to, just to get brownie points or whatever, try to insert like a Chinese person or Native American, and just like every other demographic, so everybody can feel seen or whatever. It's just like, no, stop treating it like a college campus. In a world like this, most of the characters probably would be white, and it's okay. But these are cool characters. I guess Luna's kind of got agency qualities to them, but I'm just saying they're so well developed characters that it doesn't really bother you. But if you make that the highlight and so heavy focus on somebody's skin color or their gender, then you kind of push to the side the story. The story will suffer. Look at this. Look, the background of this is just like immaculate. They know where to put their focus on their rendering. So because all this stuff could easily be wallpaper art. Cause it looks so good. But all in all, suffice to say, this is a pretty good game. Like I said, it's like a 7.5 out of 10 for me. It was just so much fun. I don't know if I'll actually return to it, because I'm pretty sure maybe there's a possibility for some DLC if there's not already. But I think it's like a good, solid, one and done game. Don't really need a sequel to this, because it's kind of annoying when people just are forced to make sequels. It's not necessary, like the whole Joker 2 situation. Clearly nobody wanted to make no sequel to that. They forced their hand. But no, if you don't got a good story, don't be bothered with a sequel. But I'm curious to know what was the developers behind this. I'm blanking on it. Let me look this up. It's developed by a French studio, Sandfall Interactive. So yeah, hope to see more with them going forward, because they made a pretty good game. But I'm curious to know what you guys think. Which choice did you win with? Did you go with Mael or did you go with Verso? Clearly I went with Verso because I think that made better sense. And I think that's probably more so the true ending than the other way around. But I will see you guys for next game. The next new game will be Borderlands 4, but I'm still be continuing on playing Borderlands 2 because I'm revisiting it, and I'm pretty close to finishing up the main story, but I still got the DLCs that I also want to play through a bit. So it's gonna be a very Borderlands heavy for a while until Pokemon ZA come out and I play that on my regular Switch. I'm not gonna get the Switch 2, not this year anyway. And besides, even though you get Pokemon ZA on the Switch 2, it's only better graphics, nothing else. Maybe there will be DLC that's only used for the Switch 2. Maybe, I'm not sure, but I'm not too worried about it. I think Borderlands 4 and ZA is probably the next two new games that I'm getting. Now, of course, I was planning on getting Wu-Chang Fallen Feathers. I might still get it one day, but not right now. It's my budget's kind of very limited right now, so I gotta be more mindful about what games that I want to get. But Fallen Feathers is not off the table. It's still another one of those what you call it, Souls like games, which there's games that has those capabilities in it that I liked, but by and large it's not my favorite. And from what I've seen for a little bit, it's like, I'm not saying no, but I'm saying not yet. But anyway, let me know in the comments below what you guys think of Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I'll see you guys later. So take care. See you all soon.